So in the last lecture, we implemented this add to cart method, but there is a problem with this implementation. Can you see the problem? The problem is poor separation of concerns. So our component is involved in some kind of data access. It's going to the local storage to find the cart ID, and then it's going to call our service to create a new shopping cart in Firebase and then store the cart ID in the local storage. So all this logic about handling a single shopping cart is implemented inside a component. This is data access. This is not the responsibility of a component. Imagine if in the future we add another page in our application where we give our users the ability to add a product to their shopping cart. For example, let's say in the future, when the user clicks on a product, we're going to take them to the product details page where they can see some details about this product. On that page, we're going to have another add to cart button. And this means with this implementation, we have to repeat all this logic inside that new component. Ideally here, our code should look like this. So this.cart service.get or create cart. We get a cart here, and then we simply call add to cart. We give this product and this cart object. Or we can make this even better and remove the first step. So we're not going to pass the cart here because the shopping cart service should know where the shopping cart for this current user is. So we can simply give the product to this cart service, and the shopping cart service will figure out where to get the shopping cart. So I think this is a better API for this service. And if in the future we add another page for the user to add a product to their shopping cart, we simply have to add this line of code, not all this logic here. So let's go ahead and refactor our code. I'm going to select all this, cut it back to our shopping cart service. Temporarily, I'm going to define this new method, get or create cart, and paste this code here. Now to make sure that I'm not going to call this from the outside, I will make it private because we want to keep the API of this service very simple. We want this service to have very few methods that its clients really need. So here we're going to go to the local storage, find the cart ID. If we don't have it, we're going to call the create method inside our service to create a new shopping cart. And this also means we should make this method private so we can't call it from the outside. We don't see it from the outside. Now, after we create a new shopping cart, we store the ID in the local storage. And here, instead of adding a product to the cart, we want to return a shopping cart object because our method is called get or create cart. So this method is not responsible for adding anything to the shopping cart. It's purely focused on getting a reference to a shopping cart. So I'm going to define another private method for reading a shopping cart from Firebase. So get cart, which takes a cart ID, and this is a string. And here we simply return this.db.object/shopping-carts and append the cart ID here. Now, in this method, once we store the cart ID in the shopping cart, we're going to call this.getCart and give it this new cart ID. And finally, return the result to the client. Now, nobody is using this method yet, but we're going to get there in a second. So this is the scenario where we don't have a shopping cart. Otherwise, if we do have a shopping cart, once again, we're going to call get cart and give it this cart ID that we found in the local storage. Now I'm going to remove these extra unnecessary curly braces. So this is our implementation up to this point. But I'm not 100% happy with this structure because if we don't have a shopping cart ID, here we have to deal with this promise and call the then method. And you can see we have repeated this line in 2 places. So let me show you how we can improve this code and make it even more readable and maintainable. In TypeScript, we have a keyword called async. If you have any experience with C#, you know that in C# we have async and await. If you don't have any experience with C#, don't worry. I'm going to make it super simple. You know that with promises, in order to get the result of a promise, we have to call then method. And this makes the structure of our code a little bit complex. Wouldn't it be nicer if we could call this method just like a synchronous method, so we wouldn't have to call then? Let me show you. So let result equal this dot create. Wouldn't it be nicer to call this method just like a synchronous method? Well, in TypeScript, if you have an asynchronous method that returns a promise, and you want to call it like a synchronous method, you simply apply the await operator here. And then you need to decorate the containing method with the async keyword. So with this simple change, now we can call these asynchronous methods just like synchronous methods. Now at runtime, this code is going to execute asynchronously. So we are not going to wait for the result of this promise. In terms of the execution, our code will execute exactly like how we implemented these few lines. But using async and await, we can make our code look linear. So we don't have to call then on our promises. So here we have the result. Now we need to store it in the local storage. And finally, we need to return a cart with this ID. Now we no longer need this block. See, our code is now more linear. With this structure, now we can remove the else keyword, because if we don't have a cart ID at this point, we're going to exit this method. So the control will never end up here. That's a much better implementation. Now you might argue that here we're calling this the getCart twice. It doesn't really bother me as much anymore because we're giving it different arguments. So I'm going to leave it the way it is.